For our final segment today, I have something that I want to implore leaders everywhere to stop saying. And I think this could end up being a recurring segment, just a recurring segment that we call Stop It. I want to implore leaders all over the world to please stop using the phrase human capital. I loathe this phrase. Every time I hear it, I have a deep revulsion to it, like biting into a rotten apple. I have spent years trying to get leaders and organizations to stop treating people like a commodity, to treat people as, actual people. And this phrase, human capital, is just soulless. Are you familiar with this phrase, Alyssa? Have you heard it before?
Oh yes. I was part of human capital department. So yes, I get it.
Yes.
What you just said, and then tying it back to your colleague Denise Jacobs, I believe you said, who subbed for Brene. Brene just did this great episode on dehumanization and the consequences of dehumanization and how we use it with our words and all of these things. And the moment you said human capital, that's what came up to me. I'm like, oh, this is a form of dehumanization.
Yes.
It's like just this herd of less than a people. There's just human.
Yes.
Right? And maybe not even that, because capital is like an asset. It's like transient. It's, could be bought, sold, blah, 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 blah. It's a transaction.
Yes.
And that is not what people are.
Well, first of all, we will link to that episode of Brene Brown's podcast in our show notes over at BossBetter Podcast, BossBetterNowPodcast.com. Let me get that right, BossBetterNowPodcast.com, so that if you want to check out that full episode, you can. But you're exactly right. It becomes easier to emotionally disconnect when we turn people into this amorphous kind of idea. When we are faced with budget reductions and job cuts and wholesale changes, it becomes much more comfortable to run toward them if we remove humanity from the occasion. I am all for doing away with any and all labels that take us from micro to macro, right? You know what term we should use instead of human capital? How about Jim? Betty? How about first names? Right? Let's address people as people. The term bestows a status, just like you said, of like living tools, right? Of assets, not in the meaning of being essential, but as belongings, as goods, as a commodity. And I actually, in knowing that I was going to talk about this, I decided to look it up to figure out where that term came from. And because it's evolved in a way that just stinks. And actually, the term human capital was first used by economists in the 60s to discuss the skills and qualities that constitute a worker's economic value. So they were recognizing that the economy is driven by knowledge and service industries, and there's a need for personality and education and expertise, and those are at a premium at the time. And so they were encouraging organizations to make an investment in human capital. For those listening, I made air quotes around investment in human capital. And over time, I think a lot of organizations embraced the term as a way to say we are putting our people at the center of everything we do. We care about talent. We care about effort. We care about expertise, and everybody is special. But man, this has just evolved in such a way that that is not how it is experienced, right? we end up using language that creates this amorphous pool of us versus them. There's leadership, and then there's the human capital, and it's all the other folks. And when people are described that way, I think it sends a signal to them that everyone's replaceable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't know that I have anything more of value that I could say than you have more strongly worded it. I understand its genesis. I thank you for that information. I think knowing that and knowing that those words do not support how we need to show up in the workplace as leaders. We need to be mindful. Words matter.
Mm-hmm.
And people are essential for you to lead them. So, people first, language, always.
And as far as human capital, the term is concerned, stop it.